I'm not sure if it's actually live right now. As I said, I told us I haven't done this for 2.5 years. I don't know if that's coming out. Does anybody have a phone they can connect with Facebook?
Oh, yes. Let somebody else. I think
Okay.
she's going to be better than I am.
It's Unity of Springfield.
Oh, I was there. With Facebook though?
It should be.
Okay.
It should come up as
Okay.
live, Facebook Live.
Okay, hold on, let me get, I have to get Facebook first. I don't have that on my, somebody else can do it quicker than me, but I'm working on
I
it.
don't think I can do it on my phone because I'm recording.
Yeah, well, it'll just take me, I just need to find Facebook.
Hey, Kat.
Hello.
Kat, could you get on my Facebook and see if this thing is recording horizontally like it should be?
Yep. They're doing all my, oh, there we go.
What happened to James?
He's sick.
Oh, okay.
I need to know if it's recording.
I think it's okay.
All real good?
I didn't see you all on the drive.
I got the batteries in.
Everything good?
I think so. I'm not sure if I'm recording properly. That's the only thing.
If not, we can record it and put it up later, but I don't see it.
Yeah, are you recording and broadcasting it?
Well, it's recording Facebook Live.
Actually, here it is. It is now.
You did find, is it recording horizontally like it should
It's on the floor at the moment, but let me look. No, it's the other way. It's turned sideways.
You'll be
It's
standing
true.
there, and I'm going to be sitting here. I could stand up too if you'd rather us be at the same level.
There you go.
What's it now?
With the
It's
stand
just,
thing in
the only
way.
problem is it's gonna be, it's not gonna catch both of them probably.
Oh, we can.
Okay.
Mitch is good.
Do you want me to
Because
stand up?
Les is gonna, yeah, Les, okay, good.
I can stand up if you want me to.
No, it's good, you're good.
Is that okay?
Yeah. Should we move it back a little bit to catch it? Okay, there we go. Thank you, Mitch. All right, we're going straight here.
Okay, we're going to get started then, and you have been, James has been talking about deconstruction, and I just want to review that deconstruction is that work that you do to undo the automatic things that you've accumulated in your life from your history. It's good, and I've been a college professor for several years, and it's good for everyone to take a look at their value system and what they believe about life and what they believe about God and Jesus and man and how it all relates and so on, in order to have a clear platform from which to continue to grow spiritually. And that's the approach we had for the young people up in our church for 24 years. Making sure that they had examined their values and what they felt about Jesus, about God, about man, about the relationship, where the church fit in with that, and so on. And so that's deconstruction. Of the two of us, Les had the more reason to deconstruct, and so he's going to talk a little bit about his own deconstruction.
Yeah, once you take care of this while I speak for a short period of time, yeah. We all grow up this lady back here needs one of those.
Okay.
We all grow up being influenced by the environment within which we are reared. And the people that, to us as children growing up, we look to for guidance and understanding and perspective about what is important and what isn't. And I grew up in an area of southern Illinois where there was a law on the books, literally, at that point in time. It's called the Sundowners Law. You ever heard of that? Yeah. If you don't know what that is, that means that the African American community had to be in their area where they lived or in their home by sundown, or they're subject to arrest. And that actually happened, and that was considered normal, not abnormal, but normal.
That happened when we moved here to the Ozarks, I mean, right outside the community that we were living.
Yeah.
It was horrible, and they didn't use good language in their sign either.
Oh, no, oh, no, oh, no. It was very toxic, if I can use that word. And so I grew up in that particular area. Could you get this lady?
Yeah.
So I grew up in that type of area. I grew up as a Southern Baptist as well, and an old country church that I highly respected the minister. We called him Brother Irvin. He was a printer by trade and had his own business and everything. That's the way he made his living. He got a little stipend from the church that he was ordained in and all, and was ordained by the congregation of that church. And he was there all the time that I was growing up, and left when I was about 40, somewhere around in there. And then they retired from the ministry and all. But you get a particular perspective of life based upon what you're presented with. So you have to begin to question. And the thing that promoted, as oddly as this may sound to you, my questioning was I was attracted to a girl who happened to go, she and her family happened to go to Unity Village, to the chapel out there. And they had a number of different ministers. And in the process of doing that, I became aware of a whole new different perspective of what religion and the message of Christ and the message of the Bible is all about. And it took a long period of time for me to begin to grasp the significance of that upon myself personally. And it caused a lot of changes to occur within me. So I had to go through the process of determining what was valid and what was important for me. And that ultimately led me into applying for the ministerial school that was on site there at the village. And I spent 2 years plus a time of spent in Palo Alto, California, for my training and my ultimate ordination. Go ahead.
Okay, James has been talking about deconstruction, and that's work. For some of us who come from very fundamental faiths, it's a lot of work because we have to restructure our entire belief system in some respects. But that work is very fruitful and very rewarding because we come out with something that is not what someone else gave us or what we caught from someone else. Like the measles, we can catch our values and our belief systems if we're not careful, and if we don't ever examine them, they're not truly ours. So in order to become truly our own self, we have to do that work of deconstruction. And he kind of felt finished with that enough that he was going to talk about New Thought today. And so that's what we're going to talk about, and you're going to help us teach the class, guys. So you have little slips of paper that have numbers on them. So would number 1 please read that statement on there nice and loud? Whoever has number 1.
Oh, is this the number on the left side?
Yes.
Oh, okay, sure. I'll wait till people see.
Good morning. Good morning.
Here. Number 1.
Okay. Thought power. Your thoughts create your reality. Thought power is the engine of mind power. Everything you perceive in the physical outer world has its origin in the invisible inner world of your thoughts. Commit now to a new way of thinking, one that benefits every area of your life. Your thought power is limitless. What you think, universal mind thinks.
Why that's extremely important is because if you need to do the work of deconstruction, then you have oftentimes hang-ups within you or values that don't work for you. in new relationships, or anger or resentment of some kind. There are all kinds of negative things that can be within you as a result of not having done the work. So once you do the work, then you are free then to create your own thoughts. Otherwise, they're caught from other people around you and from systems around you that oftentimes are not in your best interest. And that's why the work of deconstruction is so very, very important. And that's what he was referring to in all of these weeks of deconstruction. Number 2, who has that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Understanding superconscious mind power. The superconscious mind is mind power at its highest degree of expression. It is the mind of your higher self, and since all is mind, the superconscious mind is you, and its power is your master key. At this degree of mind power, you know the objective outside world is wholly subjective to your mind.
If you don't realize that, then you allow other people's thoughts and beliefs to permeate your life. And what we believe inside is what it pictures outside. And that's why the inner work is so very, very important, is because we have to clean out a lot of stuff. And from Les's Baptist upbringing, believe me, there was a lot of stuff that he needed to clean out. And of course,
She loves saying that.
50-some years in ministry has given him a lot of opportunity to do that. And people who've reminded him of some of those things that he had deconstructed years ago that he's had to deal with have reminded him also.
One of the things, if I can just interject here, is superconscious mind. It's important to realize too that there is such a thing. There is such a presence. There is such an essence of life that is in the realm of the superconscious, and that we don't have to create it. We don't have to bring it into expression. It's happening automatically. And so it's important for us to begin to realize that there's things going on in our life that often they're mostly unseen until they are beginning the process of manifesting results in the life that we're living. And so because that process is natural, it's sometimes very difficult to get our hands around making changes within ourselves that will allow that expression to take place on its own. But that's the process that it goes through. So.
And it's difficult for us, like the last statement that Paul made, the world is wholly subjective to our mind. That is a difficult truth to face sometimes, because, and the difference between going to the hospital and visiting someone that is a lunatic and someone who is, say, a Baptist or a Methodist or someone else, is that they will often, the lunatic will be laying there in the hospital bed determining their input in that situation. Whereas the other people, why me? Why me? Why did this happen to me? Well, sometimes you have to realize that you have a part in everything that happens to you. And sometimes you have to examine your part in what happens to you. And if you don't, then this next statement has a little bit of a hint in that. Who has number 3?
Is there a difference between superconscious and spirit? Is there a difference between superconscious and spirit?
I would say yes. Superconscious is the presence within you, the access to spirit itself. Spirit is more aligned with the presence and power of God, the presence and power of divine power, whatever you want to call that. So spirit is that. Superconscious is an activity that's taking place within humanity itself.
So is that your inner ego?
Well, that's a whole nother subject. When you get into ego and all, we could spend a couple of hours in regards to that.
Who has number
It's
3?
Similar.
This has a comment about ego at the end of it, yes.
Well, I was just going to say, what's the difference then on our super conscious to tie into our super self and then God conscious?
There's no difference between us and God. We are God in expression in the world.
It's a matter
And
of
that's what
expression.
we're waking up to. That's what we're trying to wake up to. Is that not that we are God, no.
Right.
But that we are God in expression in the world. And that's what we're waking up to. And our ego is oftentimes saying we're something else.
Yeah. Okay, we've got 3 over here.
Number 3.
Understanding conscious mind power. Your conscious mind is the second degree of mind where you find self-awareness and your capacity to reason. Given your ability to discern between right and wrong thinking, your conscious mind is intended to be the objective guardian of the subjective subconscious mind. Its weak spot is the counterfeit ego.
That's the weak spot, the counterfeit ego that thinks you are this or that or the other thing, and not the expression of God that you were created to be. That's what we're trying to wake up to. In that we've been saints asleep, not fallen angels. I guess that would be a good way to explain it, because some faiths feel like we were born in original sin, and so on. That's not the unity approach to life. So sometimes that ego can cause us to believe that we're something that we're not, and that can hamper our growth if we're not careful. But growth is becoming who we really were meant to be, not becoming someone else than who we are. Growth is to become who we really are in truth. That's what our growth is geared toward. Okay, number 4.
Hello? We
Oh.
were just yesterday talking at the Abraham Hicks meeting in the morning about kind of this, and I was thinking, it helps me if I think the mind is a tool that's been given to me to receive, not to generate a bunch of stories, and I don't know, receiver rather than generator helps me to kind of get the conscious mind.
But you hold the reality of who you really are in your mind once you begin to wake up to that. The mind is used to hold on to that and to grasp that and to grow that within you. So, not the ego. Okay, is this number?
This is a comment on this past. Very brief comment. I just immediately came to my mind was George Santos, a perfect example of a counterfeit ego, and exactly what you were saying about manufacturing a fiction about yourself. I mean, that is happening all the time right now.
He has a lot of them. Talk about egos. He has several, and they go in different directions. They're just running amok, aren't they, in his
you
life?
can see it when he talks.
I've watched a little bit of that Alec Murdaugh's trial. It gets depressing after a while, in a way, but he's taken the witness stand, who many lawyers would never allow him, and he would never have allowed his people to do that. But he has the audacity to think that he can sway a jury in spite of whatever evidence there is against him. And it's interesting to hear him go on about that and answer those questions. It's kind of fascinating. It must be, he must have some of the same internal ego that George Santos has, because he's seeing himself very different.
Number 4.
Number 4.
subconscious mind power and how to use it. Your subconscious mind is the first degree of the power of the mind. This power is beyond measure and is fundamental to a life of excellence. The incredible creative power of your subconscious mind is the cause behind your circumstances, but to harness its power, you must become aware of how to program and protect it. So can I make a comment with that too, and maybe help clarify something for me? So I think we carry sometimes a lot of trauma in our subconscious mind that we're not aware of consciously. So you're turning this into, I guess I've come from a different approach on to uncover what's not helpful for me in my subconscious mind to help other people to do that. So then it's interesting that we can use this in a more positive, powerful way.
Yeah, and that subconscious can hold a lot of trauma. But in deconstruction, I'm sure that James dealt with that some too, so that you can layer by layer undo that which is not in your best interest and not in keeping with your true nature.
One of the things that I like to utilize when we talk about the subconscious is that I perceive it within myself as a reservoir of information that has come into my life that I've made decisions about, either unconscious decisions by choosing to go along with it without questioning it, or those things that I've questioned and filtered through my perception and allowed to go into my subconscious. Both have an impact on how I see life and how I relate to life, that influences how I relate to individuals, how I perceive experiences manifesting themselves in my life, and that motivates me to take action in some manner or another to try to resolve them or to celebrate them.
So you're saying that as I'm consciously trying to be kind, for instance,
Yeah.
over and over again, eventually that will go down into my subconscious to where I start seeing the world in kindness.
And it does it automatically.
Okay.
You don't have to cause it to happen. You don't have to. You can't prevent it from happening. It is the very nature of it.
And let's see, where we are, number 5, I believe. Who has number 5?
I'll go ahead and read it.
Okay.
Brainwaves and frequencies of mind power. Learning about brainwaves helps you understand how to access your mind's deeper levels of consciousness, and hence how to reprogram the subconscious mind. Every part of your body vibrates at its own rhythm, and your brain is no exception, as it has its own unique set of brainwaves or frequencies.
And those of you who have, what is that where you're hooked up? What's our?
EEG.
No, it's the brain
Biofeedback.
biofeedback. If you have not taken any class or had done any looking into that, it might be worth your time in your working on deconstruction and so on, because it helps you understand the level at which you are existing, and it helps you understand if there is any change. We've gone through all of that years ago. The one universal mind. Your mind is one and the same with the one universal mind, the mind of the Absolute, which is the single intelligent consciousness that pervades the entire universe. It is all-knowing, all powerful, all creative, and present everywhere, all at the same time. This too is your nature and is the essence of the power of your mind. And when you can practice and learn to begin to control that, then you can determine how your life will picture. And it's way more than just programming parking spaces or stuff like that. It's way deeper than that. And so it takes a lot of work and practice sometimes in order to harness because the mind is its own little critter. It just wants to, some of you probably when you're going to sleep, your mind goes all different directions and thinks all sorts of thoughts about what you want to get done the next day, what you didn't get done this day, and all of that kind of stuff, and what you need to do. Well, that is a critter, in my opinion, that is keeping you from going to sleep and keeping you from truly being who you are. So sometimes we have to work to still that, and it takes work. It takes breathing, it takes understanding, it takes focusing the thoughts on the presence and the power of God, or whatever will work. Here are some quotes about inherent power of mind. We do not have to wait for future discoveries in connection with the power of human mind for evidence that the mind is the greatest force known to mankind. We know now that any idea, aim, or purpose that is fixed in the mind and held there with a will to achieve or attain its physical or material equivalent puts into motion powers that cannot be conquered. And that statement is by Napoleon Hill, one of the great authors in New Thought, Napoleon Hill.
It is the power of the mind to be unconquerable by Seneca, and the mind is everything what you think you become by Buddha, who made that interesting statement. And Mark Victor Hansen, who was a contemporary of all of us, stated that focused mind power is one of the strongest forces on earth. All of these are indicating to us that there is an activity going on in our lives that we can't smell, we can't touch, but it is as real as the things that we can smell and touch.
Very tangible.
Very tangible, and it's as real as that. And so we need to, I use the word need there, let me rephrase that, it is in our best interest, I think, as becoming a full-blown expression of life itself and what life can be all about. It is in our best interest to explore that and come to grips with understanding that there is a power within us that is really, really, really healthy. And it enables us to actually begin to develop a different way of relating to one another. And it goes through the issues of prejudging things, of determining something that's bad that is really good. It's just we don't understand it. It goes through all the areas of our lives.
He stole my thunder. That's why.
Without realizing it, you stole his thunder.
That was another manifestation.
Yeah.
We're in the same wavelength.
On this whole thought of mind your reality, and I think this is within one of the quotes that we handed out to you, but I just want to mention it now because it's just so important. Change the invisible and the visible will follow. That's one of the truths that we need to remember all the time. If we change how we are thinking and feeling about life, then we will change the life that we experience out here. And that is so important. New Thought authors, this author of all of this about New Thought says that the New Thought authors are the middle giants of our times. And of course they go back a long, long way. In the late 19th and early 20th century was an emergence of New Thought. And the articles below, there are some articles or some statements that you guys have. Through their works, these essential thinkers of New Thought have allowed us to stand on their shoulders, and it lists a few of them here. William Walker Atkinson, Charles Hannell, Genevieve Barron and James Allen, Neville Goddard, Thomas Troward, and George Gurdjieff. There are some of them to whom I'm indebted, and it says this author, and there are several more that we could say that we are indebted to, that are New Thought giants that we have known personally we have been our mentors, that have been our teachers and professors through life from back 50, 60 years ago and forward.
Number 6.
Number 6.
Who's got number 6? All righty.
I do not. I come from a third generational Christian Scientist.
Okay.
Okay, I'm not entrenched in Christian Science, but I was raised with that thought, third generation. So a lot of this deconstruction stuff I'm not having to do.
Me neither.
And when I'm in the process of reading the book Spirits in Rebellion, which starts with Before Quimby,
Yeah.
and comes through the New Thought movement.
Right.
And I don't want to be controversial, but I feel like there's another level of consciousness
Okay.
that has hit, and when you look at people like Joe Dispenza, who can take people to the highest level of vibration where they're totally healed and delivered from all this stuff, and it shatters all of this stuff so you don't have to go through all this processing.
Yeah.
And I can't demonstrate it, but I know it's there, and I know it doesn't have to take time, and I know the processing doesn't have to be there.
Right.
So I'm conflicted with listening to this.
Be grateful that you have the background that you have, because
Oh.
most people do not.
I totally understand that.
Most
I
people have
totally
to
understand
deconstruct.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most
Yeah.
people have to deconstruct in order to be their best selves and their highest and best selves.
I understand.
In order to appreciate that. So be grateful for the background that you have, as I am too, and
Right.
that you don't have to do a lot of deconstruction, because it is work. It is work, and it also causes you to question a lot of things that you're learning as you're growing and so on. You have to question everything. I know as a college professor, I've had parents come to me and say that they don't, and I've had other people come to me and say that they don't want their child to go away to college. And I say to them, let them. If that's where they need to be, let them. Let them grow. Let them experience their growth and their maturing out of your limelight.
Right.
Let them explore. Let them experience. Let them question. Let them try different things and so on, because it will get them to a different place beyond that. And anybody who's gone away to school knows the fact of that. I know there are different schools of thought on that, but I've always suggested to people, allow them, if they're led to go to another place, allow them to go there so they can experience the best that school has to offer.
If
And
you raise your children so that they can make decisions on their own, then they can handle it when they get there.
yeah, and a
But
lot
if
of
they've
people.
never been allowed to make
That's
their own
right.
decisions,
That's right.
they don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
I think Les still has trouble. If we go to a restaurant, sometimes I have to say to him, "It's not your last meal,"
She
because it takes him
She
a
has-
long time.
she has the ability to determine what she wants. I have to read the
Right away.
thing and almost taste it in my mouth psychologically before I decide to order it. So she gets frustrated with my slowness, and I get frustrated with her
Let's get
quickness. Yeah.
Even if we drive up to a McDonald's window, you know, how simple can life be? Driving up to a McDonald's window, I'll just say to him, "I want this or that," you know, and he'll order that, and then he'll say, "And I want and then he goes over the whole menu, and I imagine the person back there gets a little frustrated with him.
One of the
And
great-
I blame that on the fact that he did not he had to lie to his barber to get a flat top. How radical was that?
Yeah,
You know,
really.
he had to lie to his barber that his folks gave him that permission in order to get a flat top when he was in high school.
And how I look at that is, I had the strength to do it.
Because he had three younger brothers that were coming along. It's a good thing he did some of those things.
So,
My daughter calls that menu envy.
Menu and
Because every time we go out to dinner, she'd order, because she's a specialist in food. And I would order, and then I'd look at hers and say, oh, I wish I would have ordered that. And she said, Mom, you always have menu envy.
there's always another time. You can always go out another time.
one of the great things about this discussion that has emerged is the fact that we all have a natural drive, if I can use that terminology, to learn something, to grow, to outgrow, to understand what life is all about. It's a natural part of us. And the healthy thing about that is the questioning and the willingness to verbalize what your perception is about whatever the subject is, because that creates a new vision, a new perspective of life itself. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm a healing touch practitioner as well as a mathematician, and I get the waves and the frequency and everything. And doing that and experience with my clients, I'm missing something here, because to me God is love.
Yeah.
And so the compassion, I can spend all this time up here in my brain, but it doesn't help anybody. In a sense, in that if I don't let love flow through me to them and use that
Right.
love frequency,
That's right.
and I haven't heard that here, so how does that tie in?
We're not through yet.
Okay.
Spoiler alert. Sorry.
Number
7.
Yeah.
Somebody
You
want
want
to
to
read number
bypass
7?
6, by the way, then?
Oh, 6. Let's go to 6.
Oh, I have stuff.
Who's got 6?
I'm reading 6 because Elby didn't want to read it.
Oh, okay. Very
So,
good.
Okay.
Oh, that's right. I'm
I
sorry.
Can and I Will by William Walker Atkinson. I can and I will. Have you ever said these words to yourself with a firm conviction that you were speaking the truth, with the strong feelings that needed no other proof? If so, you felt within you a thrill which seemed to cause every atom of your being to vibrate with the notes sounded by the real self.
So that's realization, the process of coming to grips with an issue that you now have a workable perception about. And when I say workable, it doesn't mean you work it. It does its own thing. Okay? It's a natural thing. It's like H2O. You know, you combine two elements and you get H2O automatically.
Hydrogen and oxygen.
Yeah.
Are you ready for 7?
7.
7.
Imagining Creates by Neville Goddard. The creator of the world works in the depths of your soul, underlying all of your faculties, including perception, and streams into your surface mind, least disguised in the form of creative fancy. Watch your thoughts, and you will catch him in the act of creating, for he is your very self.
We are thinking that we are something different when we are behaving spiritually. We're not. We're always ourself, and we have been created to be our true self, our real self, which is what we hope to aspire to at some point. Some of the other beliefs that we catch from other people and the situations, for example, and as a health person, you'll appreciate this. How many of you have ever heard that if you sit in a draft, you'll catch a cold?
That's nonsense.
Yeah,
I know.
it
It's hooey, isn't it? But that's the kind of stuff that we accumulate, and it goes in all kinds of directions. And some of those beliefs need to be dispelled. I know I was never allowed to complain about my teachers, and yet I went to a very small school where I knew more than a lot of them did about certain things. My father was a physician, my mother was a school teacher, as were a whole long line of people before her. But if I got cranky about a teacher who would say, instead of adios and go out on the patio, she would say ados and go out on the patio. That just really turned me inside out as a little fourth grader. And I would complain about that at home, and they'd say, take your vitamins and go to your room. They did not listen to complaints about authorities. That's their job, they said. They did not allow me to do that. And that is a part of my upbringing, is that you don't question some of those things. When they're authorities, you have to accept them the way they are, because that's their job. And that is the reason why I take people more at face value probably than he did at some point, because I don't go on what they perceive themselves to be or present themselves to be. I go, it's okay, but I look beyond that to their real self. Here's a quote from a New Thought author that I think is particularly nice. Circumstances do not make a man or woman, they reveal them. Circumstances reveal who you are. When you're in a tough spot, how you react tells you a lot about your consciousness. If you are in a tough spot and you react with anger or rage or frustration or all of that kind of stuff, then that tells you where you are in your subconscious. And it tells you that you have some work to do. Because when you can, I remember I grew up in a house that our phone rang the same time my dad's phone did. My sister and I both, when we were learning to drive, would pick up the phone. And if Dad was called out on a country call or over at the lake or something, then we'd run across the street where the office was and say, can I drive? Can I drive, Daddy? And he would say, well, I'm leaving an office full of people. I've got to go just slow enough to make the corners. If you can do that, then that's fine. You can drive. So we learned to drive just slow enough to make the corners in the country calls for Dad. We both had a lot of tickets when we grew up and started driving. We both had a lot of tickets the first few years, and thank goodness that was before the point system came in. But the thing that was great about that is that it taught me, and I thought, I've arrived. When I could get a ticket from a patrolman, smile and thank him for reminding me what I needed to do for myself, I thought, now I've arrived. I can get a ticket and smile about it and thank him, and inside feel good, because I had the truth facing me. And dare to believe in the reality of your assumption and watch the world play its part relative to its fulfillment. Man moves in a world that is nothing more or less than his own imagination and his own belief system. What's interesting to me, and I'm sure that has truth for Les at some point too, is to watch the world put things together when you get yourself straightened out.
Right.
Because it's amazing how many things come into your life and how many things fall in place in your life when you get your consciousness straightened out. The universe supports us totally, but we have to put ourselves in order to access the universe order that is all around us. And it's amazing sometimes to see the stuff that happens when we get ourselves together. And sometimes I have thought to myself, gosh, I can hardly wait to see what Spirit does with this mess. and there again, calling it a mess, I usually don't call it a mess, but I'll say, can hardly wait to see what Spirit does with this. And that is a part of the faith that you're working on at the time to try to build. That understanding that the universe is going to work on your behalf. And if you don't understand that the universe works on your behalf and takes its lead from your consciousness, then you may mess up an awful lot. And the universe won't support that mess. It'll just go right on.
Go with number 8.
I have number 8. Thank you.
By the way, this is my friend Doug.
Doug, it's
Doug.
nice to meet you, Doug.
Good to meet you. Glad you're here.
Never been here. I'm not even sure what kind of church this is. But,
Oh, you're finding out little by little.
I'm really liking what I'm hearing so far. An educated man is not necessarily one who has an abundance of, it's kind of cut off on his
Or
talk.
specialized knowledge.
Or
General
general or specialized knowledge. An educated man is one who has so developed the faculties of his mind that he may acquire anything he wants or its equivalent without violating the rights of others. Napoleon Hill.
And that's a great New Thought author.
Yeah.
We aren't taking anything from anyone to affirm our own truth and to accept our own good.
These two should read this.
Yeah.
too. Next part.
Use the imagination to picture only what is good, what is beautiful, what is beneficial, what is ideal, and what you wish to realize. Mentally see yourself receiving what you deeply desire to receive. What you imagine, you will think, and what you think, you will become. Christian D. Larson.
Yep.
So
What you think you will become.
There's a process that's indicating, and we've been talking about a lot of this morning. There's a process that we go through, and it's a natural process. It's something you don't choose to do, or I've got to remember to do this or whatever. It's a natural process, and the more we work with it, the more natural it becomes, and you'll see a change in your own personal behavior within the life that you are currently living and what you're going through and what you're not going through. And it empowers you with the capacity to look at something, and to realize that there is something going on here that is more than meets the eye. It's a natural evolution, if I can use that word. It's the natural evolution of the manifestation of a new reality. And you when you know it, you know it. But there's nothing infinite in this dimension of life. The finite is here. We have to deal with the finite. And so the natural expression of something is there's always the ability to move beyond it. We never reach the epitome in this dimension, because this is the dimension of the finite. And we live in here, and we work here, we relate to one another here, but there is always beyond this, there's the infinite. I don't have the foggiest idea what that's really going to look like, other than the fact that its nature is love. Its nature is love.
Don't you think we can access those?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can go out and with my kids, but I gotta say, on all of this, each and every day I wake up and I tell myself the same thing. I'm a better me today than I was yesterday, and tomorrow I'll be even better.
Fantastic. That's
And
good.
if you say that every day and you believe it and your subconscious buys into that and so on, it will be that way for the rest of your life.
As long as I'm progressing on something that's
Yes.
improving myself, you never know.
Yeah.
That's right.
Took me about 6 months
That's
to do
right.
it, but I'm in that too.
Now, where these notes on New Thought come from, rather than us go through 20 books, which we have on our shelves at home, this is a Britannica search. And when it talks about the New Thought movement, it's very interesting to me that the New Thought religious movement that it deals with unity is the first thing that's mentioned in this Britannica search. That it's a new religion, at least at some point it was, a new religious movement founded in Kansas City, Missouri in 1889 by Charles Fillmore, a real estate agent, and his wife Myrtle. And the basis of the movement is a healing, which was Myrtle's healing. And as Myrtle was healed, as she healed herself, and people began to notice the difference in her and began to find their way to her house to try to get healing for themselves, to try to get her to help them, then he paid attention. But it was all about her at the beginning. And then he paid attention and he thought, in this confusion, I will go to headquarters. In this, I will go to headquarters. And he began researching. He took that route. He began researching all of the major religions of the world, and at some point, he began feeling like there was a golden thread that moved between all of those religions. And so he thought, in this confusion, I will go to headquarters. And for him, headquarters was in prayer and meditation, going to God. And when he did that, he sat in meditation hours and hours and hours every day. In fact, Rosemary, his daughter, said that when she would have a suitor come pick her up for a date, and he would be sitting there looking a little strange in a chair in the living room, the person would look at him and wonder what's going on here, and she'd say, he's in the silence. So she'd have to explain to anybody that came to date her if he was at that moment in meditating, and because it was a little different than just sitting with your eyes closed in meditating. Yes.
We have about 2 minutes.
2 minutes, okay.
I have a new thought on the word finite.
Yeah.
It's non-existent. It is an illusion. And that's what, when Einstein did the theory of relativity, it was because he was studying the Indian languages, and they don't see a ball. They see the movement. They see the bouncing. They see the continuousness of life. They don't see the finite. They see the infinite flowing through this world. And I think that's a new way of looking at that word finite. What we call finite is a total illusion.
That's a possibility. I don't discount it. I just don't know it.
There's a 10. Who has number 10?
We've got number 9.
9?
Yeah, number 9.
We have 14 of these. Let's see if...
We've got a minute.
Okay.
Change the invisible, and invisible will follow. Reality is in the eye, the letter, of the beholder.
In the eye of the beholder, yes. One of the things that comes to mind then is that, remember the statement that one person's trash is the other person's treasure. And that's true in belief systems. It's true in all kinds of ways in our life. And sometimes we need to decide. We need to make a decision. There again, decisions. Yeah.
Kind of back to where we started. Been pondering something for a while. What if we have fear of becoming more powerful than we ever imagined?
It's an interesting dilemma, isn't it? Yeah. So that is an opportunity, though, for one to experience some self-discovery and addressing why the fear would be there.
So that fear and doubt will be a limiting aspect of becoming, quote, more powerful than we could imagine. It's a kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, a little bit, there can be no doubt on the other side.
Yeah.
And I'll say I've lived it. Unimaginable fear.
Yeah.
Oh, no, not unmanageable power.
Yeah.
Oh.
Not fear.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
The power, you'll limit your ability to harness and use the power because your fear it'll manifest. Your fear will manifest itself instantly. That type of unimaginable power means your fear is as real as your power. And so the fear, like you just really got to be careful because it'll consume you.
Perfect love casts out all fear.
Yes, very much so. Okay, we have run out of time. And also, John's going to take up the offertory here this morning. We certainly
The crux of all of this is love. The infinite power that we all have, and if you've ever experimented with that, you know what I mean. To love is the most powerful force in the world, in the universe. And it's interesting that love can solve any problem at any time, anywhere. Just a little bit of an aside, remember the East and West Germany issue for many, many years? There was the Cold War, or the wall.
Curtain, yeah.
Group after group after group of Unity students went over there, took Bibles, took books, befriended the people, loved them a lot, spent time with them, talked to them, and so on. And after many years of that in Unity, I remember hearing that when I started in Unity, after many years of that, that wall came down. And it was almost effortless when the wall finally came down. It was prepared for by love, prepared for by consideration, by friendship, and by all of that kind of stuff. The preparation was years of that, of people accepting one another, caring for one another, loving one another, and sharing with one another. And the wall came down.
Yeah.
And he was in Canada when that happened, but oh my gosh, how easy did that happen? That happened so easily. It just, when was it? Reagan said, bring down that wall, and it just Khrushchev,
Yeah.
bring down that wall. It just happened, and
need-
people were picking at it with axes and stuff and getting souvenirs.
We need to
Yes.
bring it to a close.
We need to
Number
do a
10.
circle.
Number 10. I want number 10 to be read.
Who is 10?
It's the final. Who's got number 10?
Anybody have 10?
13.
I don't know where 10's at.
Okay, let me read it.
That's
Let me read it. The rules, it reads, are the universal laws that govern everything and everyone along otherwise unconscious lines. Manifesting our conscious creation is not about visualizing and affirming what you desire all day while doing nothing in the 3D world to affect the change. Rather, it is about using your mind to change what you assume about yourself, about others, and about life, so that the actions you take both mentally and physically and the conditions that follow change to match those assumptions. What it says is that we need to get involved.
We need to work on our own behalf
We have
in
to.
order for the universe to work on our behalf as
We
well.
have to be involved. We can't sit on the sideline and judge this and judge that, and that's acceptable and that
Paint
isn't.
pretty pictures in our
That
head.
that doesn't change anything. It actually promotes the very existence of what you're judging. So we have to get involved. We have to become a person that is willing to step forward and say, pick me. I'll go. I'll do it.
I'll serve, I'm willing, I'm able.
And to do that. And you will find that your life will evolve and will become richer and healthier, and you will experience joy and happiness that you never dreamed was possible. I'll do it.
sign me up.
There you go.
Right. Where do
There
I
you
sign
go.
up?
God bless you for all coming this morning. I know we're out of time, so Paul.
Let's give
Paul.
both Les and Pat applause. That was absolutely wonderful. Thanks. I'm going to read the announcements, or one of you could read the announcements.
Go ahead.
And then we'll do a circle in the back of the room, as we always do.
Okay, if you are new to our congregation and would like to learn more about us, please see our welcome ambassador Stella after the service. Stella's right here. She has information packets and a coffee mug for you, and she'll answer your questions regarding Unity. There's a form on the packet to fill out and return to Stella or the church office. This Thursday, March 2nd, join us for Drum Circle at 6:30 p.m. You do not need to know how to have your own drum to participate. On the first Sunday, which is next Sunday, I believe, we do not hold adult Sunday school. And at 9:15 on March 5th, in this room, there's going to be a Unity planning meeting. So that's at 9:15. Friendship Sunday potluck is next Sunday, March 5th, after the service. What will you be bringing to the potluck? To become a member of the church, you must have attended for at least 6 months and also attend the orientation on Sunday, March 26th. The welcoming ceremony will be on Sunday, April 2nd. Applications are available at the reception desk and are to be returned to D. A new Facebook page has been created for the shelter. The link is facebook.com/Unity of Springfield Shelter. James Master says shelter information will still be posted to Unity's Twitter and Instagram. Good news, March and April calendars are available in the foyer if you prefer a paper copy. And thank you very much. And Clay, do you have a comment real quick?
Just that I'm bringing my Christmas fruitcake from 1986 to the potluck.
Okay, everybody on Facebook, Clay is bringing his fruitcake next Sunday.
1986.
Okay.
All right.
I'm going to go ahead and shut this down.
Thank you all for being here this morning. Really appreciate it. And the dialogue was really good.